But directly prior to coming into being an MP, I worked for a charity that supported young carers across Essex, which was called Action for Family Carers. So, and a story I've told a number of times, but it came from being a teacher and working with young carers. So it was something that I wanted to really be one of my focuses. Obviously, when I focused on the constituency stuff and felt I was in a good place with that, was supporting young carers. So that's what got me interested in supporting young carers. Now, I also think there's other things that we can do as well. I used to be a teacher, young boy in my form. I didn't know he was a young carer until I met his parents at parents' evening. Mm-hmm. And I was horrified. I was like, I can't believe that I wasn't aware of this. So I think, and that's not, I do beat myself up over that, but I mean that I won't be alone in that sort of story. So I think there's something I really want to push, and I've had commitments from the school's minister on this, is that knowledge about young carers is mandatory for teachers.
My personal experience, my daughter and my son, young carers.
Yeah.
My wife has had cancer for 10 years, and the worst of it happened when they joined secondary school.
Yeah.
And they wanted to keep it quiet.
Yeah.
My son and my daughter didn't want to go in school telling them, but it was definitely affecting them in school, that I had to make sure the schools were informed. But that came from me as the parent to making sure.
And I think the point on that is, and that's the sort of, and I've spoke to your daughter about this, but actually a lot of young carers would say the same thing. They don't want to be treated differently. They don't want everybody to be aware of what's going on at home. I think your daughter's school, if you don't mind saying, are doing some really good work on it. But I think not all schools, there's an inconsistency there. So the other thing is about having what we call a young carers lead in every school. I say some schools do this really well, and some Harlow schools are brilliant.
Yes.
Some probably not so good. So that actually, if a young carer goes into school, they don't need to speak to every single teacher and tell them why they're late or why they haven't done their homework. They can speak to one individual who can then. Do you know what I mean? Deal with that problem.
Yeah, because it's and my daughter, she would say this a lot. She would say it's whilst her mum and what was going on with her was horrible, she'd be like, well, I've got a life as well.
Yeah.
And it's not all about mum.